It's time for the Stock Car Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Powered by the staff at Race Chaser Online. Your motorsports, your way, every day. And now, here's your host, Tom Baker.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Stock Car Show presented by our good friends at HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. My name is Tom Baker. I am joined in the Race Chaser studios here in Mooresville, North Carolina, by none other than Jacob Seelman from Speed Sport. And, of course, behind the proverbial glass over in the tech shed, we have Randy Miller co-hosting and punching buttons for our audio side, and the venerable Chris Murdoch handling all of the video chores. We love racing, but sometimes you just got to start the show with a chuckle because everybody loves to laugh. The headline says, cow running away from police stops traffic and goes to Chick-fil-A. Noblesville, Indiana.
Yep.
A cow in Indiana stopped at Chick-fil-A while running away from police over the weekend. Officers with the Noblesville Police Department spent Saturday afternoon chasing the wild bovine all over the east side. At one point, the animal temporarily halted traffic before running in the direction of the popular fast food restaurant.
Eat more chicken.
Eat more chicken. That's exactly right.
Oh, this lightning in a bottle brought to you by our friends at SiriusXM Speedway, because Dave Moody does this all the time.
Well, again, sometimes
That's
you just got to laugh. The department likened the pursuit to running with the bulls and encouraged other bystanders to share any images they may have of the cowboy adventures. So a cow runs from police and goes to Chick-fil-A. You can't make this stuff up.
Especially not in the one of the hometowns of USAC and the Clausen family and a bunch of other racing in the state of Indiana.
Exactly.
I smell.
Something else that you can't make up.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch has 200 NASCAR National Series wins.
He does.
He does.
He does.
He took the victory in the Cup race. I projected he would do it in the Xfinity race on Saturday.
Please hold while I offer my sincere congratulations and say thank God for Cole Custer making him wait at least one day.
Yeah, Cole actually ran a really, really good race. I was impressed with Cole, and honestly, again, Kyle with a pit miscue that hurt him, but again, you give credit to where credit's due, and Cole ended up taking the victory, and a badly needed one at that. Interestingly enough, though, Cole was also kind of involved, sort of, in Sunday's race in a weird, bizarre twist of circumstances.
Sort of, kind of, almost a little bit. He was talked about a lot.
Yeah, Austin Dillon was not feeling well on Sunday, and there was some question as to whether he could go the full distance. So Richard Childress sought out a standby driver just in case Austin couldn't finish the event, and kind of looked around and nobody else was available because everybody else had gone home. So he reached across the aisle, so to speak, and kind of looked at Ford and went, Cole,
He's
can I?
still here.
Maybe, call me maybe. And they said, well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, at the end of the day,
Didn't need him, but.
At the end of the day, I love this because it's a prime example for once of racers helping racers in a broader sense than manufacturers being at each other's throats. And I loved the comment that Richard Childress made to NBC Sports before the start of the race. We may moan and cuss each other sometimes, but at the end of the day, we help each other where we can, and that's what's important.
Yep, and that's
and I can appreciate that in a lot of ways. I thought it was cool, if not a little strange, to see Cole wandering around in an Austin Dillon fire suit that barely fit him, God bless him. But it was neat.
He was pouring into it, as they say.
It was neat. And you know what? I imagine Cole learned quite a bit being able to at least be on the pit box and soak in seeing a Cup race at Fontana from that perspective, because as he referenced before the race, he had never been to Fontana in a Cup car. So, you take the opportunity to learn wherever you can, and luckily he wasn't needed. Austin finished the race. Give Austin credit. He got a top 10 after all that, and that was after some issues earlier in the race where he had a tire rub that looked like an engine blew up at first, but came back very strongly in the last stage of the race to be able to get that top 10 finish. And, RCR's had speed all year. This is just the first real result they've finally gotten out of it.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because I feel like this is a team that is getting a lot of, let me rephrase how I was going to put it. I feel like they're being under-respected because they're not getting the results, but the performance is definitely there.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
It's one of those situations where you have seasons like that sometimes where you run great, you just can't close it out. Mm-hmm. And then finally, once you do it once you find that combination, mm-hmm. you're off and running. And I feel like that's where RCR is. I think people still want to sort of poo-poo what they're doing and the speed that they have and say, well, it's because of the package. Well, of course it's because of the package. I mean, you could say the same. Well, that's why Team Penske's off to a fast start. It's because of the package. They've figured it out faster than other teams have. So they're doing a good job. I think it's only a matter of time before we see Hemrick and Austin running for wins. And I still think they're both going to get wins before this year's out.
Yeah.
We'll see. I want to slip in here as we talk about NASCAR in this opening segment that we have a couple of guests coming up. We're going to talk modifieds in just a little while, and I'm really excited about that because Doug Coby basically reemerged, I feel like. He's been rebooted for 2019.
Headline, The Doug Coby Show returns.
Which I think I think there were more stories than just Doug that came out of that race in Myrtle Beach, but we're going to talk to Doug because, we love talking to Doug. He's always an interesting guy. If he's got something to say,
he's already said it.
So, and we're also going to talk to Derek Kraus after a while about his coming start in the Gander Outdoors Truck Series at Martinsville. And, of course, his NASCAR K&N Pro Series West season as well. So, looking forward to that. But, okay, so I'm going to go around the table here.
Please.
Kyle Busch, 200 wins. I want to clarify something before I do this. I want to preface this by saying I've seen a lot of headlines, a lot of people saying Kyle Busch ties Richard Petty for all-time wins. No, he didn't. That's bull. Two different records here. Richard Petty has 200 Cup Series wins. Kyle Busch has 200 National Series wins.
Well,
completely different.
Let's be clear here, though. By the definition of combined National Series wins, the headline is correct because even though Richard Petty's wins are all in Cup, when you combine the three series, Richard Petty still has 200 National Series wins. The only difference is all of his were in Cup and Kyle Busch's are across three series.
Can we please not go down that road?
Hey, listen.
Useless stats.
I made the point Sunday afternoon, and I'm going to be very clear on this. It's comparing apples and tacos. Richard Petty's 200 Cup wins.
Tacos.
Just made half our audience hungry.
And Kyle Busch's 200 wins combined are both incredibly impressive. They were also in two completely different eras, and as such, mean two completely different things. As Richard Petty said in one of his statements after the race on Sunday, Kyle just did something that you probably won't ever see again, just like I did something you probably would never see again about 30, 40 years ago. It is what it is.
Well, part is true.
I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying they should both be equally appreciated.
You can't compare the two. I do agree, Randy, that they should both be equally appreciated for different reasons. But I'm not going to Kyle winning 200 National Series races, Randy, I feel like is a little bit, I don't want to say it's misleading, but I do want to say that I think Kyle winning 200 National Series races it's unique, but look, he's had Cup equipment and Cup technology in the Xfinity Series for practically every single one of his wins in that series. Okay, the Truck Series, Randy, I believe in the beginning he was driving for Richie Waters, or not Richie Waters, for...
he had Richie Waters as his crew chief. He was driving for
Billy Ballou. And Billy didn't have a lot of resources.
Oh, heck no.
You know, and so I applaud Kyle more for the Truck Series accomplishments because he's built that team into the championship team that it is today than I do for his Xfinity wins, because basically you're pretty much going back to college and beating up on a lot of lesser equipment and a lot of less experienced racers. Randy, what say you?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, Kyle's accomplishment is his accomplishment, and 200 wins across all 3 series is a major accomplishment.
Yes, it is.
No matter who it is. And, you know, I mean, we can sit here all day and talk about why he got to 200 wins, but, I mean, you can't take anything away. He is a great driver.
Not at all.
No matter what equipment he has, he's running up front every single chance that he gets, and he's taking advantage of every opportunity that he's had. So, I mean, yes, we can sit here and compare, as Jacob said, apples to tacos or peanut butter to anthrax, whatever. I'm just saying that
Now you just ruined everybody's appetite.
200, and, you know, I mean, you know, how he got there doesn't matter. And it's impressive because in this day and age with so much competition and technology, he's still able to accomplish and be running up front week in and week out.
Well, and I agree with all of that, but I don't want to, you know, people are, well, he's the greatest of all time. No, he's not. Not yet. Not yet. He might be in about 10 more years. Let's see how many wins he gets.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if he passes David Pearson and gets to second on the all-time wins list in this day and age, okay, then we can talk about he may be the greatest of all time, but not now, okay?
Yeah.
He's also not the king. Richard Petty's off-track persona, Kyle can never be Richard Petty.
Oh, heck.
Attitude completely the same, character completely different. You know, there's no comparison on attitude, character, or personality. Richard built the sport. Kyle Busch is a great driver, one of the best pure talents we've ever seen. Not ready to be called the GOAT yet, but I believe in about 10 years we might be having a different conversation. So not for me to say anything negative about what Kyle did, only to say that he's got a lot more still to come. I think his best is yet to come. Let's not be comparing him to 200 Cup wins. I don't believe you can do that. We're going to step aside when we come back. We are going to talk more NASCAR. We've got Modifieds coming up. We've got trucks coming up with Derek Kraus. We're going to talk to Doug Coby as well. You're listening to the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. We'll be right back.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, Recording Artists Against Drunk Driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. But the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Louis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
Hey, I'm Brennan Poole, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Wow. Brendan Poole bringing us back out of break.
That's a sign that there's truck racing this weekend.
Yes. Brandon running for On Point Motorsports. Did I get that right?
The 30
On Point
truck.
Motorsports, yeah. This year, and actually has had some good runs with that truck. And so we have trucks back because we're going to Martinsville, and that's always fun. But I want to look back for a moment, and I'm going to go around the table here. We're still talking a little bit about California. Randy Miller.
Sir.
Sunday's Cup race. On a scale of 1 to 10, how exciting was it?
Oh, my Lord.
In your opinion?
I say like a 6, maybe 5, 6. It's not. I mean, it was better than years past, I think, a little bit, but it's the same California, so I don't.
Okay. Randy giving it a 6. Chris Murdoch giving it a 4. This is a little less complimentary than Randy.
You're going to want to come to me last.
Oh, no, Jacob, go ahead, because now I'm dying of curiosity. Well, how far into the negatives are you going?
Restarts were about a 7. The race on the whole and the rest of it outside of the restarts, -5.
Okay, you're all very kind.
I'm just going to be clear. This race sucked.
Yeah, it
5
really
laps into a run.
It really did.
Period.
And I've been and Justin Sullivan in our chat giving it a 5. So he's also being kind. That's why I wanted to take this little poll, because everybody sort of perceives things differently. The restarts were awesome, but the restarts have been awesome for the first several races, and I think we're seeing a bit of a pattern on the bigger tracks. This package seems to provide amazing restarts in, like you said, about 5-6 laps or so into a run. Everybody kind of starts now. What we saw at California that I thought was a little different is that once everybody fanned out, you started seeing these huge gaps back, among the positions. So it'd be, back to 6th place is like 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah,
like they're just
nobody could do anything because the spoiler's too tall. There's too much dirty air. You can't pass anybody.
Yeah, I mean, Randy, I talked a few weeks ago about the fact that I thought one of the things that we would start to talk about as we got into the season further and further is the front end of the race cars and the size of the spoiler on the back. And I think, both of those are starting to show their colors here. We've still got the front end still too low. The spoiler, it's still too planted to the racetrack. And with the big spoiler in the back, along with the splitter in the front, the fact that the front end's still so low, you're getting altogether too much downforce still, and the cars just can't go anywhere.
Ding.
Yep, and that's what makes the racing boring.
I mean, I think again, what we're going to see is I think we're going to eventually start seeing more of an outcry that, okay, we've got a package that actually isn't terrible. I mean, it's workable, but you've still got some issues with the cars that you got to fix. And Jacob hit one of them, in my opinion. Spoiler's too tall. You got to chop an inch or two off the spoiler.
The drivers drive the race cars. They're too freaking easy to drive.
Exactly. And what's happening is you got with the front end, again, you got to get rid of the spoiler, put a Valiance back on them, and raise the ride heights and get the front ends up out of the racetrack. What will happen is these cars will become really difficult to drive, and the drivers will all whine about that. But at the end of the day, we're going to go back to seeing who the best drivers are.
Thank you.
You know, that's, I mean, I think that's where we're going here. And I hope that's where we're going, because I just, to me, I thought this particular race was the worst one of the year, and I was hoping it would be the opposite. I was hoping this one without the plate, you know, with and being on the bigger track and as wide as that track is, and we saw that for like 5 or 6 laps at a time, but you know, it just didn't pan out after that.
No.
And you know, with the exception of a few cars who were just passing people silly, but I thought this was the worst race of the year. Now, I as I've just sort of, you know, said something negative, now I'm going to turn it around. For all of you who are watching or listening to this show, who have been screaming about the ratings are down, the ratings are down, the ratings are down, NASCAR's ratings are terrible. How bad are these ratings? They're getting worse every week. Have you looked at the ratings lately?
They've gone up for 5 straight weeks.
In 2019, now, after Vegas, which was the 4th race of the year.
3rd race of the year.
3rd, sorry, my bad. You're right, 3rd race of the year. After the 3rd race of the year, when the numbers came out, the ratings numbers came out, NASCAR topped the entire weekend of sports, which they've done for at least 3 of the first 5 races. Now, are the ratings knock them over dead spectacular? No, but what it shows you is that the ratings, people are not getting their content from cable anymore. You know, there's more and more people who are finding other ways to tune in, but NASCAR is still competitive in the ratings market, and it's going up this year. The interesting part is on the other side of that, for our open wheel friends, IndyCar not even in the top 10. So
no, not when you put it on NBC Sports Network.
You know, unfortunately, IndyCar. Well, you know, we've had races on Fox Sports 1.
Yes,
so,
like this weekend at Martinsville.
I mean, it's not just, you can't blame NBC Sports.
Yes, but I can when the first 5 races of the season have all been on Broadcast Fox.
Well, but again, I think it says something about IndyCar is still sort of trying to find their groove with that, but their ratings have been ticking up over the last several years. But we can't any longer be complaining about NASCAR's ratings, at least so far, because the ratings this year have been very steady. They've not been all over the place like a heart monitor, and they've not been all bad. They've been very steadily pretty good up at the top or right near the top. So I think NASCAR is starting to go in a better direction, and people are starting to pay attention again. But I think we need to just keep refining this package, because there are clearly still some issues with this car that we need to solve. And we're going to go through a whole nother year of this before we get the new whatever it's going to be in 2021. So NASCAR, I think, needs to keep massaging this package a little bit and tweaking on it to try and create a scenario where you start getting better racing on the bigger tracks. Because, you know, you've got Michigan coming up eventually. You've got, you know, all the other 1.5 miles, and, you know, we gotta keep tweaking. But
yes,
not terrible for the ratings. So there's the bad and the good. As far as,
hey, can I offer another bad, by the way?
Okay.
I know I know we haven't done this in a while, but I have a black flag.
A black flag?
A major black flag.
Besides, well, okay, what's your black flag?
Black flag. Associated Press. Do not hit the button early. Do not, fake news. Fake news. For anybody who didn't see the screenshot posted to the Jason Twitter account, the Associated Press announced 45 laps before the end of the race on Saturday that Kyle Busch won his 200th NASCAR National Series race in the Xfinity race. Newsflash, he didn't because Cole Custer did.
This is what happens, AP, when you assume. You make an ass out of yourself. That's what happens when you assume.
And the rest of us laugh at you.
The rest of us laugh at you.
Are you sure there wasn't CNN that posted that?
No.
I'm very
sure, it was AP.
Randy.
And I'm thankful you brought that up because, again, it's a good example of somebody just clearly not doing their job properly. I don't care if he's 3 laps ahead of the field. If you've ever watched a race before, you know that oftentimes a lot of things happen in the last 3 laps of the race. And we can blow a motor, we can crash, we can have a flat tire, we can do all kinds of things.
Does anybody remember the Xfinity race at Fontana a couple years ago where Kyle Busch blew a tire going into turn 1 on the last lap? Daniel Suarez ran out of fuel on the backstretch, and Austin Dillon came from like 4th to win the race? Hello?
Well, that's the whole point of this, is that, posting that far before the end of the race. In fact, posting that before the checkered flag falls.
It was a mistake.
Pretty stupid.
It was a mistake. Trust me. I just want to know who inadvertently hit the button that made all of us laugh.
That's their Twitter guy probably was supposed to get off the clock at 5:30. So just mailed it in. So he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and post it now, so I go home.
It wasn't even Twitter, Randy. It was on their website.
Yeah. It was really bad.
Whoever's in charge of their, whatever, their social media or whatever.
Justin Sullivan in our chat pointing out back to our topic from before with the cars, especially the Chevys, he says, they still seem like they're lagging behind Ford and Toyota. And I would agree with that.
But who's not lagging is Kurt Busch. He's been good.
Well, I was going to say I would agree with that to a point, but I think Larson's shown speed. I think Jimmy Johnson is starting to,
slowly.
Some of them have shown some speed.
Kurt Busch right now is the man for Chevy.
Yeah,
I wrote that earlier today, and Kurt Busch is the only Chevy driver with at least one top 5 finish this year. Hey, guess what? It's modified time.
It's modified time, but we have to take a break first. Doug Coby going to be joining us right around the turn to talk modifieds and Myrtle Beach. 2 topics a lot of people love to talk about. We'll be back with more of the Stock Car Show presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety, right after this.
Do you love the sound of high revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves the majority of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schuberth helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on only one thing, making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the HMS staff is always ready to take the time to help you find the right product for your safety needs. Don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Stop in to HMS Motorsport. Visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com or send them a message on Facebook and tell them the folks from PMN Radio sent you.
What an awesome game. What's up with your car?
I don't know. It won't start.
How are we getting home?
Chill. My parents signed me up for the roadside assistance from Lewis Meineke. It was free with my oil change. They'd come and get the car started or get us home and tow the car to the shop.
Good to know. With my driving, my parents never know what to expect.
When you join the Meineke Car Care Club with a $35 preferred service, you get 4 free months of roadside assistance, including tire change, battery jump, lockout service, towing, and more. Contact Lewis Meineke, located on Route 1, or call 827-2054.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a lung disease that robs people of their ability to breathe. As many as 24 million Americans suffer from COPD, also known as chronic bronchitis or emphysema, and half of them don't know they have the disease. If you or someone you love is over 35 and has smoked more than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime, visit driveforcopd.org and take the screener, then take that to your doctor. I'm Jeff Stoltz, and I drive for COPD.
Hi, I'm Todd Gilland, and you're listening to Race Talk on PMN, the Performance Motorsports Network.
We needed a far more energetic re-entry going into this segment because we are going to talk modifieds, which is my personal favorite topic to talk on this show. The Ground Pounders were at Myrtle Beach on the cheese grater for a day and opened their 2019 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour season. Doug Coby picking up the win and asking one of the greatest questions in the history of radio communication: when do I get to give NASCAR the finger? We are thankful he didn't give us the finger and instead agreed to come on and have some fun with us, because Doug is one of our favorite guests here. Doug,
did you really just go there?
Doug Coby, welcome back to the show, and welcome back to Victory Lane.
Yeah, your re-entry right there was a little bit better than Todd's. So I'll next time Todd does a re-entry like that, make him do a few more takes.
Well, it was just not the right ambiance. We needed like a Metallica thing or something for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're happy to have you back, man. That was a heck of a show. Though I think, honestly, in my opinion, and I know you won't agree with this, but it made it so much more enjoyable to watch you come from the back the way you did, because, boy, you were just on a mission.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I like good races, and whether it's me coming from the back or somebody else, I mean, it's just cool when somebody can put on a show, really. And nobody really knows the strategies, and nobody knows how things are going to play out. And I just had a great car. And a lot of the guys who were up front, I don't think they realized how great my car was coming through the field, getting up to the pit stops. You know, I came from 32nd to about 14th or 15th the first time when I got put up into the turn 4 fence there in somebody else's jingle, and then came from the back again to 12th before we ended up taking the lead when they all pitted. And then I hung around out there for another 25 laps or 30 laps after they pitted on my time trial right rear tire. And, you know, it just shows how strong of a car we had to just, no matter what was thrown at us, it was really how good the car was that made me able to do what I was able to do, especially at the end on the 3 tires.
Well, let's go back just for a second, because I feel like we need to provide a little bit of detail.
I was hoping to skip over this part. You know?
Well, sadly we can't let you do that. But you can explain it to whatever detail you like. But tell us what happened that got you put to the back for the start of the feature.
That's pretty simple. When we left the pit party, which was out on the front stretch, they instructed me as the pole winner to follow the NASCAR pickup truck, and the rest of the field would follow me to where we would then stage so that the late models could do their race. And they took us through around turns 1 and 2 on the racetrack, and then they ducked us in behind the inside pit wall off of turn 2. And that's not the pit entrance. The pit entrance is about 200 feet further up the backstretch where there's a break in the wall, or probably even further. So they drove us through what's essentially the junkyard of the racetrack. You know, if any debris is on the racetrack, what do? You just throw it over the inside wall. And, you know, I followed the truck. I was the first car through there and didn't think really too much of it. But right before we were about to strap in, Phil looked at the left front tire, and there was a screw of some sort, you know, facing us. It was staring right at us. And Phil tried to pull it out in front of the official, and it was so deep into the tire that he had to get a pair of pliers to do that. And it was like an inch-long screw. And we asked them if we could change the tire as it was going flat, and they said, of course you can change the tire. And we said, great. And they said, but you have to go to the back. And so we were just really upset that, number one, that's even something that I get it, there's rules for what's approved and what's not. But there's also times where they make adjustments to their rules and they make adjustments to the entry blank for the good of what makes sense. And I just thought it was a common sense call that they could have said, you know what, he picked something up through no fault of his own, and it was where we made them drive, so we're going to let him change the tire. And to be honest with you, I think most of the other competitors would have agreed to let us change the tire. I also think the 3-car had something similar, and they actually told us the reason we had to go to the back was because the 3 was also going to the back. So, you know, it's just I just am a common sense type guy. I get emotional about stuff, but the reality is common sense overrules at most things for me. And, you know, I just thought it was a bad decision simply because it was their decision to drive me through the junk.
You know what I think about that, Jacob?
What do you think about that?
I think Doug got screwed.
Well,
you nailed that. Hey, you nailed that one.
much like I did in my headline on Saturday. Oh wait. Anyway, so with all of that said, one of my favorite parts to Saturday is as Doug was coming back through the field, and as Tom just referenced, was some of the radio back and forth between him and Phil Moran and the rest of the crew. Get some popcorn because this got really fun. I loved it. So first you go, what counts as an approved tire change? And then as Tom referenced in the open, you asked when you drop to the back, when do you also give NASCAR the finger? And I'm curious first, did you end up hearing from Jimmy Wilson this morning?
I have not. It's funny. I was going on Bob Dillner's show this morning, and I got a phone call with a Florida phone number that I didn't recognize, and it was earlier than I was supposed to go on Bob's show, and I thought, oh God, here's the NASCAR call, but it was actually Bob's guys calling me from a Florida line. So no, I haven't spoken to Jimmy. I don't think Jimmy's looking at this as a big deal. I mean, Jimmy's a level-headed guy. He understands that I like to argue things. We've had a running joke about this for about 5 years. In fact, I joked about it in one of my championship banquets that Jimmy thinks if I wasn't a race car driver, I should have been a lawyer, because I just like to argue. And lately, though, I feel like my arguments have some merit, and I do think that I hope people understand that my arguments are with the intention of not just covering my ass, so to say, but making the series look good in front of the fans and essentially protecting other competitors from having it happen to them. It actually made me think, Tommy Catalano comes to Myrtle Beach and has his best qualifying effort of the season. He was third of his career. He was third. The Catalanos bring 2 full-time cars to the tour now. And what if it was him? You know what I mean? That kid wouldn't deserve to be put to the back for picking up a screw, and I would have fought for that. And John McKennedy said to me after the race, he was in support of us just changing the tire and staying there. So, I get it that the drivers and the teams, we don't make the rules, but we make rule adjustments all the time, such as starting 32 cars when the entry blank says 30. And believe it or not, we've done it where there's 4 extra cars before. And that kind of stuff could have championship implications if one of the championship guys finishes further back than the entry blank states. So, I mean, they do it for the good of the series. I support it. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. However, it just proves that we can do things that make sense. And I thought that it would have made sense to let me change the tire.
So as we're going through this, the middle finger comment notwithstanding, I mean, you go on and win this thing. And going back and thinking about everything on the radio, one thing that you said to me after the race Saturday night stuck out. that you said, regardless of how we sound on this was a good thing that stuck out. You said to me after the race that no matter how we sound on the radio, you said, I can sound pissed off and I might be pissed off, but that you don't let it affect you behind the wheel. And that to me was the ultimate statement, because as soon as you crossed the checkered flag, you called it a murder in the first degree. Yeah, it pretty much was.
You missed a word in there, actually.
I know, but we have younger kids listening that I'm trying to be nice
show,
to.
Doug. Our standards are low, but we have them.
Yeah, I mean, just getting back to that, I think sometimes people kind of criticize me, if anything, for being unemotional and not getting, overly excited for certain types of wins, or when people, knock me around. I mean, I'll go have a conversation with somebody, but the reality is it doesn't change what happened. So I don't know. I think just maybe the older I've gotten, it's even mellowed me out even more, because I was even really like that when I was younger too. I guess I would rather just show it in the performance, and show that the frustration came out in a positive way, and that I did use my head the whole race, and that my crew did settle down and had we got 3 tires done on 1 caution without any mistakes, and my crew chief made a great decision and didn't alter the plan based on how the race unfolded. We intended for that to be our plan. Personally, I would have liked to take the tires a little bit later even, but Phil it was the right call for how good the car was. I think if the car had fallen off earlier in the race, I would have pushed to stay out and not take the tires then, or not take all 3 right then. But it is what it is. I mean, I'm glad it put on a good show. Ultimately, I'm glad that we won the race and we started off the season on a high note. But I'm also really glad that people are talking about the modified race at Myrtle Beach, because it was an exciting race on the cheese grater. And a lot of times I think people think that, modified guys can't feather the throttle and can't race like that, but they forget how many times we race at Seekonk, and some guys race at Lee and tracks up in the Northeast that are somewhat similar to Myrtle Beach in terms of how you have to race a modified there.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we're going to step aside. When we come back, more of Doug Coby, because, who doesn't want more of Doug Coby? We'll be back with more of the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety, right after this.
Everywhere you go, you hear it, and you see it. It's coming at you through your phone, your tablet, and your computer. It's broadcast from your favorite radio station, TV networks, and cable companies. It's in the stadiums, the arenas, the ballparks. It screams for your attention at the mall. It's interactive on Main Street. It's even coming at you from the gas pump at the nearby convenience store. What is it? It's digital content. It's digital content. It's digital content. Somebody has to create it. Somebody has to manage it. So whether your dream is to write it, design it, create it, call it, produce it, voice it, host it, light it, shoot it, switch it, record it, color correct it, edit it, code it, repurpose it, tweet it, blog it, post it, compress it, upload it, replay it, or make sure it gets to where it's got to go when it's got to get there in the format it's got to be in, you need to attend Carolina School of Broadcasting. The skills you will learn, the experience you will get, and the connections you will make at Carolina School of Broadcasting will open the doors to the career you want in digital content creation and digital content management. Call or come by today. Click csbradiotv.edu.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Sheldon Creed, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Again, much too mellow for our guest here. Welcome back to the Stock Car Show presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com, and you should do that for all your driver safety needs. They also have radios, too. If you need a radio system, they can hook you up. Doug Coby is our guest at this moment. Doug, of course, five-time champion of the NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour.
6.
And off to a great start for number 6, thanks to his performance at Myrtle Beach Speedway this past weekend. And
I'm curious about something.
Okay.
Actually.
What are you curious about, George?
Well, this had a happy ending, right? Doug comes from the back to win.
Well,
but
if you're Doug, it had a happy ending. If you're the rest of the field, they weren't too thrilled with it.
I'm not worried about the rest of the field.
Neither is he.
I'm worried about what was going through Doug's mind when the little jingle, as he called it, on lap 26 or 27 happened, and he's sitting up against the wall, and we didn't have a good view of it from the press box, so we're all thinking, oh, Lord, if this is the end of the day, it's going to get really ugly. So what was going through your head at that point?
Really, if you want to know the true answer to that, my radio conversation with my crew was, what the you-know-what are these guys doing? It's only lap 25, and there really shouldn't be anybody touching each other at lap 25. I was extremely upset that there could be that much contact at the front of the field with anybody, and a car spins out and causes everybody in the back to pile in at that stage of the game. 25 to go, anything goes. I'm fine with that. But 25 laps into a race where we're racing, at that point, you guys understand, we were racing 2 seconds off of the pole speed. Mm-hmm. We were racing 21 5s and 6s when the pole was a 19.66.
Right.
And if anybody can't control their car on relatively fresh tires with 20 laps on them or so, I don't know. I saw the replay, and it looked like the 64 cut down on the 75, and the 75 didn't want to hit the inside wall, so he just tagged the 64 and turned him sideways. But I'll tell you what, man, the spotters, I'm not going to blame them, but that's a time when I encourage my spotter to make sure that I'm giving everybody any room possible, because that could have been ugly for about 15 cars and totally changed the complexion of the race. And I did hit the wall. I just slapped it with the right side, and, the Nerf bars stick out about an inch or so maybe beyond the right side tires, and luckily I hit it square enough that I just pancaked the Nerf bar just a tick. I was a little nervous, though. Something like that can break a Panhard bar or a shock mount, or depending on if you hit the rear, or you could tow the car in or out or bend the steering. So I was upset. I don't know. I've caused plenty of wrecks. People are going to say, oh, look, you've never wrecked anybody on lap, when you shouldn't. And I have. That's not the point, though. The point is I haven't done it when I'm running, when I was penalized in the back and we're all running 2 seconds off the pole speed. I wished everybody in the first race of the season would have got us to at least, I expected the first caution to be for somebody spinning out because they couldn't hold onto their car anymore because they lost their tires. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you feel like, in general, the modified tour, do you feel like there's a little less respect in general over the last 2 or 3 years than maybe there has been in the past?
I don't think so. I think there's always drivers that are hungry to take any spot they can, no matter when it was. You can look back to the 80s and early 90s when everybody says all the drivers were better than us, and they all wrecked too. You know what I mean? None of those races didn't run caution-free because they were gentlemen, So cars get wrecked and drivers get aggressive. And, if anything, we can get aggressive because I think we understand that our cars are, in a sense, if you do it the right way, they're kind of designed for some more aggressive racing.
Okay.
And I think, for the most part, I think most of our guys are pretty good at being aggressive. And a lot of times most people are only aggressive when they've taken tires and they feel it's go time. So, I think our series is really has a good balance. That's probably the best thing I can say. A lot of people think I'm the most aggressive one out there. I don't think that's true anymore. Maybe there was a time when I was, but I don't think I am. But whatever. I think depending on who you root for, I think you have a different list of who your top 5 most aggressive drivers are.
I think that's.
And I'm sure I appear on most people's top 5, probably in a different order though.
I think that's true. You're on different lists for different people. I think is where he's going with that.
Well,
hey man, a top 5 is a top 5. I'll take whatever.
That's right.
Exactly. So one of my favorite comments after the race that you made, direct on the track PA no less, was referencing the fans and talking about the ones who don't like the cookie cutter drivers that have no opinions because they don't speak their minds, and referencing that most of you on the modified tour are not like that. Is this kind of a situation, and of course we know your personality's always been speak your mind, but is this something that you've kind of embraced even more so now that you've been the champion a couple times? And I really feel like you're trying to shepherd the tour forward in a way, even as you're kind of fussing at people once in a while.
Yeah, somewhat. I think there was a time, maybe up until as early as maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that as much as you guys thought that I spoke my mind, I kept my mouth shut on a lot of things, and I think having Jimmy Wilson as a tour director has allowed me to express some of my positive and negative comments in a constructive way. He knows when I'm angry, and I know when he's angry, and we have plenty of mutual respect for each other's situations, and I think that's been a good thing. It's actually helped me, I don't want to say come out of my shell a little bit, but it's helped me be a little bit more critical of NASCAR. And I'll be honest with you, I really think that fans want to hear that. I don't think they want us to all just go away. And I'm not saying I'm going to make this something that I focus on for the whole season, but I think the fans want to hear when a driver's aggravated and what the reason is. And I think that goes from the Cup Series down to, the regional touring level. And I think NASCAR kind of embraces it a little bit because they made a lot of my comments a part of their social media. So I think there's a big kick from the top to the bottom of NASCAR to let the drivers be who they are within reason, and as long as things are respectful and don't get out of hand, I don't think they're going to censor us too much for having an opinion.
See, I think that's...
And I think it's a good thing, and I want to let other drivers know that they should have an opinion too,
I agree. I think Jacob, Doug, I love the way Doug expresses himself because he says what he feels in a way that doesn't feel abrasive or doesn't feel, he's not attacking anybody personally. He's not,
right.
I think we need more of that. And I think that the modified tour, I think for the most part, puts on the best racing of any of NASCAR's series, period.
I don't think there's anybody that would disagree with that.
And I think the fact that the drivers are so genuine, I believe, is a part of that equation, Doug. And I just love the fact that, Jacob, that he's been willing to
yes.
sort of carry that mantle a little bit.
I love it. Now, I want to look ahead just a little bit, not specifically to South Boston, but kind of to the tour as a whole, because looking down the top 3, it was you, Doug, it was McKennedy in second, and Jimmy Blewett in third on the podium with a failing battery. I mean, this battle between especially the 3 of you on Saturday was something to see, and you add Justin in there. You had somebody like Swanson who had a good run going before his tire issue. Are we setting up for maybe the best tour season competitively that we've had in the modern era?
I think everybody always likes to think that that's how the season's going to start, but the reality is there's going to be 1 or 2 drivers that has a better start to the season than everybody else and puts a little gap, I think, like Justin did last year and I've done in a few years past, along with Timmy. It's not just one driver every year. It was one last year with Justin, but, it's usually 2 or 3, and I'm trying to put myself in a position to just be one of the 2 or 3 that gets to the midsummer stretch and has a nice little cushion on everybody else. That's always been that's all. I don't want to say I'm points racing, but the reality is you have to at least keep a peripheral vision on the points and make sure that you're not sabotaging yourself for when it comes to crunch time, and that's how you win a championship, and that's my goal. So I don't know. I think looking forward, I think I mentioned this to Phil before practice, and I looked around and I said, I think this is the first year on the tour in very many years that there are not significant number of driver changes for the season. The only one really full-time will be Jimmy in the 21. We have some new drivers, but as far as the top 10 to 12 teams go, most everybody stayed status quo, and that kind of means that everybody's happy and everybody's gearing up with new equipment and new ideas to make their team better. And I think that's a good thing. It might not last for 2020, but I think it's a good thing for 2019 that everybody feels confident in their package to go out there and win races. So I hope it's competitive. Believe me, I don't want to see Justin win 8 more races again. So I hope that, I think if Timmy and I were a little more competitive last year, I think Justin might have had some pressure, but he was just so darn good that we just couldn't keep up with him. So I'm hoping this year, that maybe we catch up a little bit. And I think you guys have to wait until at least the Sizzler at Stafford. Once we get through the first 4 races, you're going to really see if anybody is going to be the surprise or if it's going to be back to Justin. He could go out and win the next 3, and he could have, be the point leader by 40 after the Sizzler. So who really knows at this point,
So I'll put a bow on this like this because I overheard it from some of your crew that your parents always talk about you really liking to get the last word. I think you got the last word this weekend.
Yeah, no, I mentioned that my parents hate arguing with me because ever since I was a little kid, I always had to have a comment for everything. And, I don't know. I guess the older I've gotten, I try to be at least a little more respectful about it. But anyhow, it's
wisdom.
I'm tough to deal with when I feel like I'm like 99.9% right. And I think in this situation, I really think the only people who would disagree with me are the ones that just hate me for the sake of hating me. So, there's always going to be people that say, no, you should go to the back. But I think for the most part, I think most people agree with me. So, you know what? It is what it is. It's in the past. That's another thing about me is I really don't dwell on too many things. So I'm going to South Boston with an open mind as leading points, 1 race win, which is what we got the last 2 seasons. And if we can run as good at South Boston for the race as we tested, I think you're going to see us in contention for a win there too. So I'm really excited for the tour to go there.
Okay, we're going to give you about 30 seconds here. I mean, the announcers were calling you Doug Mayhew for half the broadcast. So
as they should.
Yes. So one of your main sponsors got a whole bunch of publicity, but you got more than Mayhew. So talk about your sponsors and who helps you make all this happen.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I can't say enough about Mayhew, and I'll keep talking about them. They stepped up for the pole award on the entire tour this year, so that's, an extra $1,000 a race that might not just go to our team every week, which is pretty cool to see them getting into racing like that. And I also want to always give a shout out to our engine builders. People don't really know that we split our engines between Robert Yates Racing Engines and Bob Bruno, so they both do some great work for us. And then we've got a new partner this year. Nobody really talked about it at Myrtle Beach, but we switched our shock package over to the JRI shocks with Brandon Ernest and Ernest Performance, and we made that decision after we tested at New Smyrna, and obviously we started off pretty good with them. So my hope is that I'll be talking to you guys a whole lot more this season, and maybe I can focus on 1 or 2 of our associates who help us out then.
Well, we're always into the idea of talking with you on this show, Doug, and we congratulate you on a really, really great run at Myrtle Beach and a great start to the season. And thanks for taking some time to have some fun with us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. And if anybody missed the Fans' Choice coverage, of course, NBC Sports Network has their broadcast coming up on Thursday. And I did see the full Fans' Choice video already up on YouTube, so you can go watch it now.
There you go. All right, Doug Coby, and we will step aside. When we come back, we go from Modifieds to the NASCAR K&M Pro West Series and trucks, and we're going to talk to Derek Kraus right around the turn. You're listening to the Stock Car Show presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com, and we'll be right back.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up. You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem and no excuses, because it's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here on one internet channel. The Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it.
Hi, I'm Reed Sorensen. Racing has been a part of me and my family for as long as I can remember. I had to make tough choices early on to get to the top. It took hard work and dedication, but it's those tough choices that helped me prepare for challenges I would face as a cup driver. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Hi, I'm Zane Smith, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Now, where was this re-entry music when we had Doug Coby on? That's what we needed for Doug, because he's a high-energy guy. Our next guest, maybe not quite so high energy as...
It's hard to be as high energy as Doug Coby.
It's hard to be as high energy as Doug Coby is, but we're going to welcome Derek Kraus to the program at this time. Derek, of course, one of our NASCAR K&M Pro Series West rising stars, who is... going to make a milestone this weekend at Martinsville as he makes a start in the Gander Outdoors Truck Series. I don't think I have messed that up yet this year.
Not yet.
You
I
should
did it
be
once.
proud of
I
me.
am proud of you. It's his second Truck Series start overall, by the way.
That's right, but it's his first at Martinsville, I think.
Indeed.
Yes.
He ran at Phoenix
Yes,
last year
that's
and
what I
shocked
thought.
the world when he finished 6th.
So let's get him on the program. Welcome, Derek Kraus. Good to have you back, my young friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, talk a little bit about this weekend, because I know you got to be excited. I mean, you've run a truck race at Phoenix, but this is a little bit different running on the little bowl ring that is the Martinsville Speedway. Did you put the extra super duper good brakes on it?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I think I don't know.
What?
I think we're losing you just a little bit with your signal there. We've had some dropouts.
Take two.
Take two. Go ahead and answer the question again.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a big weekend, just because it's my second start ever in the NASCAR Gander Outdoor Truck Series. So it's going to be a big learning experience for me, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I know you've got to be excited. Martinsville, though, is a different experience than what you had last fall at Phoenix. That was kind of your breakout race, but how do you prepare for this weekend? As Tom mentioned, you're going to need good brakes this weekend because you're going to be on them a lot.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing we're going to have to do is just try to get as much practice as we can, and then we're going to have to run a few mock runs just so that we can qualify up front, because that's going to be a big part of it. Track position is going to be key, and then me not making mistakes on the racetrack or in the pits.
Talk a little bit about the deal. Obviously, we knew at the start of the year that you were going to have at least a couple truck races with Bill McAnally Racing, but to put the program together, as you and I talked about a few weeks ago, to bring Ineos on board the truck for this season, this is a pretty big time for you.
Yeah, this is a really big part of my career, just to have Ineos back on the truck for the first time, and then we're just gonna have to go and just do our best and try to finish all the laps that we can, and then we'll try to finish top 10 every race.
So, before Phoenix last year, other than those of us who follow K&N West on a regular basis, maybe a lot of people that didn't know your name. I mean, how has all this changed for you since kind of that breakout run last fall at Phoenix? And when, in putting this together, do you feel like that run maybe helped your case for getting a few more truck races this year?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that run last year at Phoenix has helped me a lot, just because it was the my first truck race, and then BMR's first truck race in a while. So I think it got everyone's confidence back with getting the truck, and it showed everyone that we were there and that we had a run, and everyone knows that we were there.
Everyone knew you were there then, and I know you're hoping that they know you're there this weekend. How have you started to prepare, other than being in the West car on a dirt track, for what you're going to experience this weekend at Martinsville? I know you've been an avid iRacer in the past. Have you been on the sim getting ready for this?
Opportunity to go to the TRD Toyota Simulator, so that I feel is going to help going into the truck race at Martinsville. It's definitely like I was there. So.
Having trouble with a little bit of a dropout there again, but we got most of that, Derek. I know that one of the things that everybody thinks about when it comes to Martinsville is sort of the bumper tag and the bump and run and all of that, close quarters, close competition. Are you expecting to be in the midst of that? And obviously running for Bill McAnally, the truck's going to be stout. Well,
I think I lost you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we've lost connection there. We're going to try to work on that a little bit here. But, Derek, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you guys the whole time.
Okay. Yeah, we're having some trouble with your signal. You're dropping out on us a little bit. So try and wherever you're sitting and facing there, we're hearing you good now. So just stay right there.
Okay.
I'll repeat the last question. Everybody thinks about Martinsville. They all think about close quarters, bumper tag, all of that. Do you feel like this race is going to sort of be that? And I know Bill McAnally's truck is going to be a stout piece for you. So do you feel like you're going to have the equipment necessary to go run for a win if you're able to do that?
Yeah, that definitely. BMRs will bring me a great truck, and I'll have a good truck and a good crew behind me. So I feel like we'll be able to have a good run, and I feel that'll be the key to be in the top 10 at the end of the race at Martinsville.
How big a learning curve do you feel like you're going to be on through this race? Because I know at Phoenix it's not as much about having to bump somebody out of the way, but for you, you may get bumped out of the way a little bit during the first part of this race on Saturday.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a learning curve. Hopefully our truck's good enough that we don't have to move anybody out of the way or get moved, and hopefully we are up front the whole time. But I'm sure it'll definitely come up and happen throughout the race. So definitely you just have to stay patient and keep calm. That's going to be the toughest part of the 250 laps.
Did that top 10 at Phoenix, does that automatically raise your expectations a little bit? Before maybe a top 10 would have been the goal, but now already having a top 10, do you feel like that automatically puts a little bit more on to hopefully go out and run in the top 5?
Yeah, I feel definitely that we can run in the top 5. I know BMR will bring me a great piece, and we showed that at Phoenix, so I'm really looking forward to it and really interested to see how it will be during practice, qualifying, and then throughout the race.
How big has Bill's support been for you over the last 3 years? Obviously, you've had time in the K&N West car a bunch, but how important has having Bill behind you and really helping to shepherd you forward been for you in your career?
Bill's been really good and supportive of me through all 3 years. I mean, no matter where we are, he's always there, helping hand. I mean, he's raced too, so he knows what he's talking about. So he can come up and talk to me, or talk on the radio on what I need to do better or what I'm doing wrong. So I really think that helps a lot with having a car owner or a team owner that knows what they're talking about on and off the racetrack.
I know, too, on the K&M West side, the dirt track didn't necessarily finish according to plan, but you've got a lot of good tracks coming up for you. Of course, a shot to go to Irwindale, where you were really strong last year. I mean, what's your outlook on chasing the championship? Do you feel, is this the year? Do you feel like you can go out and really, really put something to them?
Yeah, I feel like this year we got a really good shot at championship. I mean, Haley and Brittany, and then also the two Sunrise cars will be really competitive too. So it'll be really interesting to see on the East and West Coast how the championship plays out.
Obviously, a lot of partners going into this weekend. You mentioned earlier Ineos jumping on as one of the major supporters of the truck side on both the truck and the K&N side. Who helps it make it possible for you?
Yeah, of course, Napa Auto Parts and Toyota, TRD. They're a big part, and then also Bill McIntyre Racing, my crew. They're really supportive, and no matter what or how the outcome of the race is, they'll always be behind me and support me.
What is the goal for you at Martinsville? I mean, do you believe you're going up there racing for the win? I mean, I know you have to think that as a racer, but realistically, what is the goal for you this weekend?
I remember telling Jacob the story about how me and my dad were sitting in the car, and I asked him what a good weekend and what a great weekend it would be. But definitely after Phoenix, I feel like a great weekend will just be finishing top 10 with no mistakes and no damage to the truck at the end of the day. That'll be a great weekend for the first time at Martinsville.
It's hard to finish in the top 10 in a truck race at Martinsville with no damage.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point there.
Finishing in the top 10 is one goal, and having no damage would be a whole other goal.
Yeah.
I feel like. But certainly capable of it. Derek, what after Martinsville, what's next for you in the truck series?
Dover. Dover will be the next truck race.
He'll go Dover in May, and then the late season races at Las Vegas and Phoenix in the playoffs.
Sounds like a plan. Correct. Yeah, that's we're going to see more of you over here. That's great, and hopefully you'll be at a point here in maybe a year or so where we'll see a lot more of you over here.
Yeah, hopefully that's definitely the goal, to run full-time trucks.
Well, we're glad that you took some time to chat with us here tonight. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing what you can do this weekend in Martinsville. Good luck to you. Have a safe race, and hopefully we'll see you in the top 5 to 10 when it's over.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's Derek Kraus, and we're going to step aside. When we come back, we've got much more here to go on the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com, or you can go to either of their locations in Danvers, Massachusetts, or right here in Mooresville, North Carolina. We will be right back.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Lewis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace. in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay. Totally.
Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now. Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com.
This is Anthony Alfredo, and you're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Little pasta music bringing us back there out of the break. Welcome back to the Stock Car Show. Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman in front of the camera. Then behind the camera is Chris Murdoch doing all of the video production, and sometimes in front of the camera, but most of the time behind the camera is Randy Miller, who is a co-host and also our audio producer. And, of course, this show airs live on the Performance Motorsports Network. You can download the free PMN radio app from your device's app store. And we also air live on our Facebook page, Race Chaser Media, Facebook Live cast for each of our shows. And then, of course, you can get us on demand. Most of the top podcast sources, you can just search Race Chaser Radio on your favorite podcast source and get this show on demand if you'd like. So don't forget also, make sure you're following us on Race Chaser Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you give us a follow, give us a like, and keep up with what's going on. We'll have much more content coming out as we roll a little further into the season here, and we're doing some exciting things. So we're excited to have you be a part of that. As we move forward in the program here, I want to go backwards just a little bit because we touched on the Cup race a little bit.
I was getting ready to say, is that like dropping back to punt?
Yeah, kind of. Something like that, except it's a race show. And so we're basically going to go backwards. I want to just touch on the Xfinity Series race at California. It was, I thought that the Xfinity race, unlike the Cup race, I actually thought that the Xfinity race had a little bit of drama and a little bit of energy to it. And I can't help but ask the question. I'll start with Randy Miller. When does Tyler Reddick finally get a race win?
The poor kid, I swear. I feel like it's coming. I mean, he's been consistent, which is something last year. You know, I complained last year about how he won the first race and the last race and won the championship. But I feel like this year he's been a lot more consistent and he's been running up front. So it's just a matter of time before he sees victory. I feel like it's going to come in the next couple of weeks or so, I think.
Well, I think so too. Now, of course, we mentioned earlier that Cole Custer ended up spoiling Kyle Busch's 200th race win party on Saturday and getting the win.
He did. And at home, too.
Yeah, at home, which was, and again, great win for Cole, and it was exciting to see him back in victory lane. I think he really, again, that's a driver that as the season goes on, you're going to have to reckon with for the championship of this series, I believe. But it still, to me, feels like mostly a Toyota show, and I know that part of that is because Kyle Busch, it has run the last few races, but I feel like Christopher Bell, even if Kyle, now we go forward here, Kyle's not going to be racing for a bit, but I feel like Christopher Bell is the guy to beat in this series. The thing that has occurred with Christopher this year is either he's not had his best day or Lady Luck hasn't given him a best day. I don't think we should underestimate Christopher Bell's impact on the Xfinity Series. It's basically been he and, to a degree, his teammate Brandon Jones, who hasn't quite been racing for wins, but Brandon's getting better and better, Jacob. I feel like right now the Toyotas are still the talk of the Xfinity Series overall.
Well, you forget that Bell won his way into the playoffs on week 2, so he's had a lot.
He did get a win.
He and Ratcliffe have already, and that was in dominating fashion, too.
Yeah.
He and Ratcliffe have had the last 3 weeks to just play, and the West Coast Swings is not traditionally been his best racetracks, so to speak. At least they weren't last year during the Xfinity Series early on.
Need to fix that come playoff time, though.
Oh, he will. I mean, they go back to Vegas and they go back to Phoenix.
ISM.
And he did win at ISM Raceway in November when it counted.
Yep.
So I think this was more just a combination of luck and fluky stuff that, stop and consider. He's still third at the end of the day.
Well, no, he did finish third. I'm saying that I believe Christopher Bell could easily have won 2 or 3 more races.
Yes,
had he. That was my point.
Had it not been for Lady Luck and his teammate,
the results don't really tell the story of the performance. Randy, was the point I was trying to get at there.
That is true. And by the way, to Jacob's record, Lady Luck, he means is Kyle Busch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, well, that's
that
much
too.
it.
I want to give credit to where credit's due on the Reddick side of things. Both Bell and Reddick have basically come back and become the de facto battle so far this season among Xfinity Series regulars. And you had Custer now winning. Reddick's done everything but win. I said at the start of the season those 3 were going to be in my Final 4 come Homestead, and they've done nothing to disprove that so far. I'll tell you who was nice to see in the top 5 was Chase Briscoe.
Chase Briscoe, yeah.
Finally, that team had a solid run, and it was very, very refreshing to see the 98 be able to get up there, and he was running as high as 3rd in the latter stages of that race. If that run that was interrupted by the late caution that allowed Cole Custer to get the lead had gone green to the end, Chase believed he could have run 3rd or maybe even challenged for 2nd.
Yeah, and he's probably right. Both Stewart-Haas Fords in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a good sign
to go
for
back
SHR.
to Reddick for a moment, Randy, it's really interesting to note that I think overall it's fair to say that Tyler Reddick is actually running better with Richard Childress Racing this year than he did last year with Junior Motorsports, and we all saw what happened and who's wearing the crown right now. So if Tyler can just up it just another little notch and, lock Kyle Busch in a closet somewhere for a few weeks, we might just see Tyler emerge as the driver to beat in this series, or at least one of them, along with, as Jacob said, Bell. Unbelievable that he's done as well as he has. He's fitting really well over at RCR and has made that car fly.
Mm-hmm. Kyle Busch can win on anything, so I'm sure if you put him in the escape game, he'll probably win that too. Anyway, to your point about Tyler Reddick, though, I can't even talk. I got the
easy for you to say.
I feel like this is a classic case of somebody who was basically, I don't want to say a lame duck, but he was in last year with Junior Motorsports. He had 3 other teammates that were just as good, had almost as good, if not better equipment than he did. Now he's over at RCR, and he is the driver at RCR. In the Xfinity program, so I guess the top guy on that program. So it's a matter of putting everything in an organization into one thing, because we're noticing the same thing over on the Cup side. RCR is better this year than they were in years past. Even Roush is better this year than they were in years past, because they're taking everything and putting it all into one program. With RCR, it's spread out over the course of 2 different programs, but I feel like it's kind of like a resurgence type thing where Tyler goes over there. And they're like, we have a new driver, a new focus, a new energy. Let's put some stuff into him. And he's proving that he can drive those cars, and those cars are getting faster now. And so I just feel like it's new opportunity, new environment, new everything for him, and he's making the most of that opportunity.
He really is, Jacob. And I feel like it's a combination of maybe being the driver, but also when you win a championship, let's face facts here, the confidence level goes up, and so you come out the next year and you just feel a little more invincible and a little more like, hey, this is my thing. I can win a championship here. So, he has definitely stepped up his game, I think
he has, and I think he's also trying to prove to people that last year wasn't a fluke like so many people have insinuated over the past 3 or 4 months since he won the championship at Homestead. I don't believe, like you, it was a fluke at all, and I expected Tyler to come out and contend, maybe not this strong, this quick with RCR. I figured it might take him a little more time to gel, and you'd see it more after the West Coast swing. But he, to me, has been one of the true pleasant surprises of this entire Xfinity Series season. And I got one more for you, and it's the same name I've been preaching since week 3 at Las Vegas, because the train has not gone off the tracks yet. Name me the list of drivers who have a top 11 finish in all 5 NASCAR Xfinity Series races this season. I'll give you a hint. It's a list of 1.
And that driver is?
I was hoping to drag it out a little bit longer, but I won't.
We can drag it out, because actually I know who he's going to say, and I was going to, before he says
I know
anything,
too now.
I'm not going to say who it is, but I feel like he's going to get a win this season.
I do too.
Yes.
I do too.
Dun, dun, dun. Ryan Sieg, through 5 races, is the lone driver to finish 11th or better in every single NASCAR Xfinity Series race this year. Not Junior Motorsports, not Team Penske, not Joe Gibbs Racing, not any of the power teams. Ryan Sieg. And that, to me, is the beauty of where the Xfinity Series is at right now. You're seeing less influence from Cup drivers. You're seeing more Xfinity regulars be able to go at it. And plus, you're seeing an infusion of at least some technical support and some new cars from Richard Childress Racing to Ryan Sieg, which, for that family team, has made a bucket of difference. It's been great to watch. I love it. It's the feel-good story to me of the entire first part of this NASCAR season. And God knows I want it to keep going. He's 8th in points right now.
Well, and see, this is really where I come back to the fact that, you've got NASCAR putting commercials out there that say names are made here. And then we turn on the TV and watch the races, and Kyle Busch is winning. Or Kevin Harvick or Kyle Larson or whoever it has been for the past. I don't want to make this about Kyle Busch. I think that this series, in and of itself right now this year, the battle between Bell and Reddick and the appearances by Michael Annett and drivers like Ryan Sieg and even Ross Chastain at times in the 4-car in the top 7 to 10 and having those conversations. That's what NASCAR needs in the Xfinity Series. The Cup drivers don't need to be there. There's guys in this series that are putting on great shows all by themselves. So I'm glad that you just mentioned all you did about Ryan Sieg, because to me, he's one of a couple of real feel-good stories of this series so far, and it's fun to watch him race.
I was off one. He's 9th in points right now. Noah Gragson got past him over the weekend, but it's the same difference. He's in the playoffs right now on his own merit. He's got the 4th highest average finish of any driver in the series so far this season that's running for points. That's a big deal for a single-car family team, and it ought to be celebrated a whole lot more than I feel like it has been so far this year.
I agree. Well, and nice to see Brandon Brown up there. Nice to see Greg Gaulding up there. Garrett Smithley was having a nice run. And, oh, by the way, we have to talk about the fact that Garrett's dad, RK, did the flyover.
That was awesome.
That was amazing. And, just a really cool deal. I'm sure for that family, that was a really special moment. With that, we step aside, back with more motorsports conversation. Right around the turn, you're listening to the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. Back.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves the majority of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schuberth helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on only one thing, making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the HMS staff is always ready to take the time to help you find the right product for your safety needs. Don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Stop in to HMS Motorsport. Visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com or send them a message on Facebook and tell them the folks from PMN Radio sent you.
Hi, this is John Andrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Cole Custer, and you're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
I knew he was going to turn up eventually.
Well, welcome back to the Stock Car Show presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. And want to toss in a quick note that for any of you in our audience who might be looking at a career change, please give some consideration to IT, because there are millions of IT jobs unfilled in this country, and mycomputercareer.edu can train you in as little as 4 months to line yourself up and get one of those jobs. They work with hundreds of employers, so you'll have ample opportunity at getting a job as soon as you are prepared to do that. And they have financial aid available, which is awesome. If you're eligible, including the GI Bill, all you need to do is go to mycomputercareer.edu, take the free career evaluation test, reach out to them, say, hey, I really want to do this. And you can do it in as little as 4 months, not even full time, just 2 to 3 times a week online or at one of their 7 campuses across the country. So if you are looking for a career change, or maybe you're just graduating high school or coming off duty for our country, whatever your situation is, consider IT and look at My Computer Career. It's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. You would think, Jacob, that NASCAR qualifying for the Cup Series would also not be rocket science. However,
I was wondering where you were going with that.
See how I did that? However, this past Friday in California, they made it appear as basically trying to solve a Rubik's Cube.
I've actually solved a Rubik's Cube once.
Then you did better.
Taking off all the stickers and putting them all back.
Yeah, exactly. Then you did better.
I actually solved it right.
You did better than the 12 NASCAR Cup drivers did in the last round of qualifying, because for those of you who are under a rock and missed this, okay, not a single driver got a complete lap in round 3. So that means Austin Dillon ended up starting on the pole based on his round 2 time. Why did they not get a lap? Because they all waited too long to go out onto the track and qualify. Now, I'm going to give everybody a chance here to comment however they wish about this. Here's my 2 cents. Dear NASCAR, if this debacle doesn't convince you that it's time to just go back to single car qualifying and be done with it, I got nothing else to offer you. Okay, these teams have manipulated the clock and tried to play silly games ever since you invented this whole group qualifying thing. And honestly, it's completely embarrassing, both for the teams and for the sport. Okay, I don't know why we thought we had to have group qualifying in the first place. I never saw this big rush or pouring out of fans saying, oh, we can't stand time trials. We did this for decades, and it was fine. Jacob, what are we doing here, man?
I'd love to ask the 12 drivers from Friday in the final round the same question. I imagine my opinion's going to be very popular with a lot of fans and maybe less popular with the driver base. But here it is in a nutshell. That farce on Friday, and I'm calling it what it was.
Oh, it was that.
Was an absolute embarrassment to the sport, to the Cup Series, and it should have embarrassed the drivers in the final round.
I agree.
The only driver who was happy with how that turned out was Austin Dillon, because he got the pole. Here's the deal, and God bless him, because I don't always agree with him, but the Godfather hit the nail on the head on Twitter today. People paid to see 3 rounds of qualifying. They saw 2.
I agree.
I'll quote Moody's tweet here. It's like going to the movies and they shut things down after the previews. Not what you paid for. So Joey Meyer, who was Brad Keselowski's longtime spotter and is now Paul Menard's spotter in the Cup Series, comes back with, people saw 3 rounds. Actually saw over 3 rounds. Years ago, we paid to watch Mike Tyson fight, and that only lasted about 20 seconds. It's qualifying, and we saw qualifying. No one got hurt. The teams will adjust to make it better. Moody's response, and I heard this on SiriusXM Speedway Live, by the way. I had a caller today who paid good money to bring his family to qualifying. He felt cheated, and he's the customer. It's not always about what's best for the racers. Here's my take. Dear NASCAR, fix it. Whether it's what Jeff Gordon said, and once you leave your pit stall, you move. You don't get to stop at the end of pit road. You don't get to do anything. Once you put a tire out of your pit box, you move. I don't care if they sit in their pit box for 4 minutes, as long as once they go, and they turn a lap. Or maybe you add a penalty where if you don't take a time in round 3 or in any round for that matter, you go to the tail.
Except, Randy, that going to the tail of a race, the length of a NASCAR race, means absolute 0.
I don't care. Do something. Make it matter. Maybe you have a pass-through on the green flag. Do something.
Start them 3 laps down. Randy?
You know, I knew something fishy happened when I saw that Austin Dillon had won the pole. Because I was like, there's no way he would have won the pole.
Wow. No, come on.
Kidding. Anyway,
Turn that into
a couple
Austin
of years
Dillon
ago,
hate.
I got to see qualifying when they were at Texas Motor Speedway. And I like most everybody else, paid for 3 rounds of qualifying. And there were 3 rounds of qualifying. But I think at that time, the last round was like 5 minutes long. And literally everybody went to the track with about a minute and like 45 seconds left.
Right.
And I knew that this was going to happen at some point because these drivers are pushing the limits to see exactly how far they can go before, you know, they get the proverbial, well, you didn't turn a lap, you didn't make it to the start-finish line in time, which the rules have kind of been tweaked a little bit since then. But Scrolling through social media, over the weekend and earlier today, I saw a couple of people mentioning like ways that they think that we should fix the qualifying situation. And almost everybody's in agreement that single car qualifying is what needs to be brought back. But I think the problem that NASCAR has, and the problem with a lot of people, is that it takes too long to qualify 40 cars when you go single file. But a couple of people had an interesting idea, which was to have a car go out and then like 30 seconds later send another car out.
Exactly.
So that you
at least have
shorten the amount of time it takes to qualify, but at the same time you get the single car qualifying.
That's how they do it in Xfinity and Truck. They'll send one. They'll have 2 laps going on at the same time, but they're on opposite sides of the racetrack.
Right. It's still single car qualifying. I mean, it's still single car qualifying.
Right. Yeah.
However you want. I just think this whole group qualifying junk is just that. It's junk. I don't think it proves anything. It's not about the fastest car anymore. And everybody complains about useless gimmicks and drama. I think this is the greatest example of that any dumbbell in motorsports ever invented. This knockout qualifying. It's ridiculous. If they're going to do that, line them up and let's have heat races. Now the fans will show up, and you won't be able to sit in your doggone pit box or at the end of pit road until the last minute. That was ridiculous.
They should do those heat races on the Legends track in the center, because every one of the cookie cutter tracks has that Legends track in the center. They should do it on that track.
There we go.
The big track.
Yeah, throw them on a quarter mile. That'll do it. No, I don't know why we can't just go back single car qualifying. I mean, we've tweaked and messed with group qualifying every which way, and we just can't seem to stop the teams from doing stupid stuff. It's like the whole tech issue that we have of people not being able to pass tech. NASCAR is finally clamping down on that.
Year.
Yeah. So the next thing NASCAR needs to do is just take the group qualifying away because, again, the teams are determined to mess up the sport all by themselves. It's not NASCAR's fault. The teams are at fault, so you got to do one of 2 things. Go back to single car, or, like I said, if you mess with single car qualifying and play silly games, great. You're going to start the race 3 laps down. Now let's see how long you do that for. That's the problem with a countdown clock is you have these people that are just, we don't want to be the first one out. Well, I got news for you.
Well, okay. So that problem was created because of the package, which forces you to have to draft to get a fast lap.
Look, you're all in the same boat. Man up and go do it. I don't want to hear about, it's the package. It's the fault of what you've got. There's 12 of you that have made it to the 3rd round. If you don't want to go take that seriously, then get in the garage and give it to the 13th place guy who will. I mean, I'm sorry, I have no respect and no excuses and no BS for these drivers that whine about the system. It's about the fans, stupid. And that's the whole reason you exist, is because of the fans. Get it?
Can I end this segment on a high note that has nothing to do with stupid qualifying?
Please do.
Yeah, lower his blood pressure, please.
Good news alert.
That was just emphasis.
In all caps.
Good news alert? I love
Very
good news.
good news alert. Tabitha Burton, Ward's wife, has received some fantastic news tonight that she just shared on Twitter. For those who are within the sport and heard about this, I think it was a little over a year ago, she's been undergoing a battle with cancer.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
And per a post on Twitter that just has subsequently been retweeted by Harrison.
Shows no evidence.
Shows no evidence of cancer.
God bless. That is awesome. God is good.
There's a really good note to go to break on.
Absolutely.
Because, the Burton family is tremendous supporters of the sport, and that's one of the best news items you can always hear is when cancer gets beat. I mean, we talk about it all the time, how cancer sucks, and to see somebody, especially somebody like Tabitha, who has been a part of the sport in the way she has for so long. Great news.
Absolutely. God is good, and we offer all of our congratulations and positive vibes to the Burton family for that one. And with that, we'll step aside. When we come back, we haven't even done the lightning round yet.
Oh, boy.
Back with more of the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, right around the turn.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
Here at Lewis Meineke, we're more than just your average car care center. Hey, it's Dave, your neighbor from Lewis Meineke. Whether you need an oil change, brakes, tires, or anything under the hood, we've got you covered. Take advantage of our free check engine light service as well. Yes, free. And don't forget about our free shuttle service. Never stress, we'll take care of the rest. On with life. Give us a call at Lewis Meineke, 302-827-2054.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up. You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem and no excuses, because it's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Jesse Love, and you're listening to Race Chaser Radio. Now back to the show.
Shout out, because Jesse won something on Sunday.
Well, yeah, he won the Legends Road Course race in the Pro Division at Sonoma. Had 2 seconds on the Saturday night, running in the Pro Late Model Division and also the Midgets out west. And so it was a good weekend for Jesse.
Yes, he done did good.
And also, we should congratulate Adam Lemke.
Indeed.
Yeah.
On his late
Hickory
model
Motor
win at Hickory.
Speedway opened their season this past Saturday. And, Jacob Hafner winning the first of the 2 40-lap modified features. And then Adam Lemke, who...
Modified.
Late model, NASCAR late model features. Let's try that again. Yeah. I want modifieds at Hickory. That's my thing. Anyway, Jacob Hafner winning the first race. Adam finished in 6th, starting 14th. Finished up in 6th, and then came through in the second race. Ended up winning that. First night he's ever raced at Hickory, driving for Junior Motorsports. And I got to tell you, there were some, you had McCaskill running.
Yep.
You had some really stout cars in that field. 6 drivers broke the track record. And here comes this kid out of California. First time racing at the track. He's driving for Junior Motorsports, so you expect the cars to be fast, but there's a difference between being fast and being able to compete and going out and basically putting on a great show for both races and getting it done. So congratulations to Adam Lemke on that accomplishment, because it's not easy to walk into Hickory and walk out with a win in your first time there. That's a challenging track to run.
Absolutely correct. Yeah. And I think the big thing there is confidence going into the Cars Tour race.
Well, yeah, the Cars
and Adam
Tour
needed some.
Coming to Hickory this coming weekend, and again, this will be a bigger challenge because Cars brings with it some drivers that don't compete on a weekly basis at Hickory, including Adam's teammate Josh Berry, who obviously when you have Josh Berry as a coach at Hickory, you're going to run well. And, you know, he helped Adam a lot, obviously, and Adam was a good enough sponge to go out and put it on him in the second race. Ryan Millington right now is about as dialed in as it gets at Hickory Motor Speedway, and he did everything but crash Adam at the end of that race, and Adam still held on for the win. So, again, congrats to him and the Junior Motorsports team. And Cars Tour race going to be very interesting. We saw the opening shot being fired at Southern National.
Yeah.
But Hickory's a whole different sort. Southern National, for those who don't know, is a half-mile track. It's banked. It's fast. Hickory is the opposite of that. It's not high banked. It's really tight, and it's challenging. 2 late apex corners. It is a driver's track, and they had it fast on Saturday night. It was a cool night. The sealer was down, and oh my goodness, 6 drivers underneath the track record. 14-6 for a NASCAR late model. Hickory is getting the job done, let me tell you. That would have been unheard of even 10 years ago. So, yeah. So good job on that. We look around the racing world a little bit, and I want to make sure we talk at least a little bit of F1 because we do have some open wheel fans in our audience. And, boy, that race made California look like a Bristol bull ring race. That was probably the worst F1 race that's been run since last year's Australian Grand Prix. We only had 4 overtakings the entire race. Just not a great circuit. I mean, Bottas was on fire. And certainly
Peace
earned
out,
the victory.
Goodbye.
But, yeah, to win by 20 seconds, I'm sorry, that's just a bad race. Beat his teammate Lewis Hamilton. We were all hoping, I think, that you would see more parity this year in F1. And again, one race is not a very big data sample, but certainly I don't feel like, Jacob, we're off to a great start in that respect. Though we saw a shred of hope. Pierre Gasly actually went from, I think, 17th to 11th. I think he just missed a point. So I think he started 17th, finished 11th, something along those lines, passed some cars.
He wasn't the only one that made some passes.
Well, he was one of the few.
Survey says. Lance Stroll went from 16th to 9th.
Yeah, and here's another driver that everybody, mocks because, well, Daddy bought him the ride.
Yeah.
But new situation for him this year and a level of confidence I've not seen. And he has turned some heads in the preseason testing and even in this race. Interesting to see what comes for Lance Stroll this year.
I am happy to see Racing Point, what once was Force India, having a little bit of success this year. Stroll went from 16th to 9th. Kvyat went from 15th to 10th. Gasly, as you mentioned, 17th to 11th. Nico Hülkenberg for Renault went 11th to 7th. I honestly believe that the most disappointing thing is that we didn't get to see what Daniel Ricciardo in the factory Renault could have done because he had to retire out of the race with damage after 28 laps.
So he was out early.
I believe he would have been a shot at top 5 or top 6 maybe at least. He started 12th and had been moving his way forward, but alas, we won't get to know that. So.
No.
And what we learned from F1 is that the Williams cars are still last.
Yeah, that's a tough program.
Sorry,
there.
guys.
I don't know.
It's sad because a couple years ago they were good, and then Felipe Massa retired, and they just got not good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on there, but they definitely have got a large mountain to climb.
When you're the only 2 cars multiple laps down that finished the race, that's a problem.
Yeah. Definitely a problem. Okay, so let's spend some time looking forward here because we were coming to Martinsville off the West Coast swing, and Martinsville obviously is a track all its own, and short track racing returns for 2019. We don't spend so much time talking about the package.
Thank God.
I agree. We just can spend time talking about short track racing and bump and grind and who's going to do what, and I think that it's time to discuss both races here while we have some time left. First of all, the Truck Series race. This race feels to me like it could be a shootout at the OK Corral because you've got some guys like Matt Crafton who necessarily we haven't talked a lot about contending for wins in the last year or two because, well, he just hasn't been running well. But he's back up front, and he seems to be back on his game. I think there's more parity in the series than we've ever had.
Yeah.
Here's my question before we pick a winner. Round table, quick. Who is the biggest surprise at Martinsville in the Truck Series? Who becomes the biggest surprise?
Okay.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure you weren't like going back to last year's.
Talking about, end of the race, who becomes the biggest surprise that we're talking about next Monday?
Wow. It's tough for me because I'm not sure. I'm not sure without the entry list to know who may be surprises on the winner is not going to be a surprise because Kyle Busch is running Martinsville. Therefore, Kyle Busch is going to win.
Okay.
However, if I'm looking at this, I think the surprise is Sheldon Creed, who has not been particularly impressive through the first handful of races this season, but he was really good at Martinsville last fall, and I believe that Sheldon is going to be somebody that jumps out and impresses some people.
Okay. Randy, you got one?
Off the top of my head, without looking at the entry list or without being able to find it right offhand, the only person I can think of right off the top of my head is Tyler Ankrum. I think Ankrum is going to do something.
I hate that you stole my pick. But at least we agree because that's who I was going for is Tyler Ankrum. Listen, okay, so there's a part of our audience who probably hasn't listened to this show or watched it very much and says, well, who's Tyler Ankrum? And my response is his name's on that wall back there somewhere. And he's been on the show a bunch of times, so you're just not watching us often enough. Tyler Ankrum ran Martinsville last year, ran Phoenix last year in the truck. This year he starts his full-time season run in the 54 truck, or sorry, the 17 truck at Martinsville. And I believe that Tyler Ankrum finishes in the top 5 at Martinsville. Not going to push for a win, but I believe top 5.
Oh, by the way, I'm changing mine. I lied because in thinking about who could be on the entry list, I remembered the one person that we actually do know is a bonus on the entry list this weekend, and he's going to be the biggest surprise. Not because he's in a KBM truck, but because I believe in what this kid can do. Rafael Lessard is my vote for biggest surprise this weekend.
He could be a surprise in a lot of different ways.
Listen, he cleaned his stuff up. He almost won the Derby in December cleanly, and the kid's just looking for a chance, right?
Well,
he dominated the ARCA race at Pensacola in the KBR development car a week or so ago, and I believe that Rafi is going to break out this weekend, and I believe if he has the truck, he will run top 10 and will surprise some people.
He'll have the truck if he understands that this is not a 100-lap late model race, and he just takes care of his stuff. He can certainly run well.
Derby's 300 laps. He took care of it last year.
We'll see where it goes. It'll be interesting to watch.
Hey, can I give a shout-out real quick before we get out of here?
Well, you can. Go ahead.
Okay. Gio Bramonti winning in his super late model debut in the Rattler 250 on Sunday, beating Harrison Burton and Ty Majeski to do it. Anthony Campy Racing gave the kid a car, and Gio went out and absolutely put on a show. Graduate of the Summer Shootout Series in a Legends car and has shown a ton of prowess in a late model the last year or so. Was just so impressed by the job he did.
Good job for Gio. Okay, real quick while we've got a little time here. Randy Miller, who wins on Sunday in the Cup race at Martinsville? Who you riding with?
Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch. Okay.
My limb tonight is going to be the size of a microscopic thimble.
Chris Murdoch flashed me 2-4, so I think he's riding with William Byron. That would be a real interesting
That would
pick.
be big.
Jacob, who are you going with?
KB18 until somebody beats him.
Okay, this is where I'm going to totally blow away the room here. I'm saying it. I'm calling it. Jimmy Johnson gets a win at Martinsville on Sunday.
No way.
And yes, that is a huge limb at this point. The 48 returns to victory lane. Hey, why not? He's done it 9 times before. He's been more competitive. I'm calling it right now, 48 for the win at Martinsville. And you know what? I keep thinking that Daniel Hemrick somehow is going to figure into this.
See, when you said you were going to shock, I thought that's where you were going.
Well, I picked him once before, and
that didn't work.
It didn't help him. So I'm trying to not jinx him.
All right.
Daniel Hemrick would be the dark horse, though. Go ahead, Jacob. Close us out.
On that note, we want to say thanks to our partners at HMS Motorsport, mycomputercareer.edu, and strutmasters.com for what they do to make the programming that you hear through Race Chaser Radio and PMN possible. And we do wave a checkered flag on this edition of the Stock Car Show. We'll be back again to do it in a week. Right now, for Chris Murdoch and Randy Miller behind the glass, and for this guy, Tom Baker, I'm Jacob Seelman. Keep it off the wall, folks, and if you're headed to a racetrack somewhere, or maybe Martinsville this weekend, we might just see you there. Have a safe one. Good night.
You've been listening to the Stock Car Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stay tuned to Performance Motorsports Network for more race talk. For the latest motorsports news, visit racechaseronline.com. The Stock Car Show is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com. A member of the Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or a section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or the marketing partners. Be listening again next week when the Stock Car Show returns on Thursday night at 7 Eastern. Until then, stay tuned for more great motorsports programming on the Performance Motorsports Network.